Hello to everyone. My name is Sandeep. I am working as an assistant professor in the Department of Information Technology in MLR Institute of Technology, Hyderabad. So in previous class, we discussed about what is the class and how can we define the class. So, and also what is the types of variables we can define in the class. That means how can we define a class means by using class keyword, as well as that variables represents inside the class is nothing but an attributes and properties. Similarly, inside the functions, whatever the functions we are going to define inside the class, that is called a method. That is called a method. So let me discuss about object, right, and also some concepts or some statements about the classes, right. See here, as we discussed in previous class about that types of, that is variables inside the class. That means instance variable, static variable, local variable. Okay, so instance variable is also known as object level variable. Instance variables is also known as object level variable. Next, static variable is also known as class level variable. Next, local variable is also known as method level variables. Next, within the Python class, we can represent the operations. That means if you want to perform some task, then we require what? Methods. And we have the different types of methods, or we can say different types of method can represent inside a class. That is instance method, and next one is class method, and third type is static method. That means we have the three types of methods can represent inside a class, that is instance method, class method, and static method, right. Next, here see first a simple example. There is an class that is test, and of course this is the documentation string, and anyway this is the optional, and here we define one method, and this is what double underscore in it double underscore, and this is what we can say this is the special method, or we can say constructor. Anyway, we will discuss about constructor in next coming sessions, and we have to pass the self parameter. Okay, self parameter as the first argument. Okay, na? So this is the what? Variables. This is the variables, and these variables are going to access through the m1 function. Okay, na? So how can we define the variables here is, so self dot name and self dot age. Anyway, this we can say instance variables. Like because of we are going to we have that different types of variables, right. So and this one of that one is instance variable. Okay, anyway we'll discuss about that instance variable in coming session, but here just what is the class contains? Variables, for methods, that is attributes and methods. So that is the purpose here I kept that example, right. So this is the class by defined that using the class keyword and followed by the colon, and we simply, this is what documentation string. So documentation string represents what? Description about the class. Description about the class. So this is about what? Class program. Here still we did not create an object. Why? Because of we have to create object. By using that object only we can access these function as well as these variables. That means these instance variables. Of course this is also we can say that m1 method is instance method. Anyway we'll discuss later, right. Now see what is an object in Python. So class is what? Is a logical entity, and that object is what? Physical entity. Physical entity or physical existence of a class. For example here class test. Now t equals to test. Now what will be happen? That t is the object of this test class. T is the object of the text class. So that's why here physical existence of a class is nothing but what? Object. We can create any number of objects for a class. We can create any number of objects of a class. So for example, T1, T2, T3, like that one, any number of objects you can create. Next, an object is an instance of a class. What? An object is an instance of a class. So why? Because of here the test class here is there, and this is the this object is what? Instance of this class. So sometimes we can say objects is what? Instances of class, right? Next, these Python objects we are going to what the Python objects contains data, variables and methods. That is, for example, this is an object. Here we are going to consider in this object we are going to get the data, and these data represented in the form of variables and then methods. So that's why objects are as encapsulation of data using that variables and method act on the data into a single entity, that is a class. Anyway, the syntax of object creation. So what is the syntax of the object creation? The syntax of the object creation here is reference variable and then class name. Okay, na? Reference variable and then class name. Example here is S is the reference variable and student is the class name. Student is the class name. Then what is the reference variable? That means student object creation and student object creation, and it is referred by the reference variable, that is S. So what is the reference variable? Means the reference variable which can be used to refer the objects. For example, here S is the reference variable. Why? Because of it is referring the object. It is refer the object. So that's why that S is called reference variable. And by using this reference variable, we can access properties and methods of object. That means by using that reference variable, we can access variables and methods of that class or of that object. So that this is called about what? Reference variable. Here S is the reference variable. Okay. Next, now we'll see the program here. The class is test class is created and one constructor is there. Into the constructor we pass the parameter compulsory. This is the first self is the parameter. Anyway, we'll discuss about the self variable also. Next, we created one method, that is instance method. Now by creating an object, we are going to access that M1 method, and through that M1 method we are going to access this name and age instance variables. Okay, now see, we'll write a program, right? See, so class test. Here I am not going to define that doc string. So this is the constructor. Into the constructor compulsory what we required, self variable has the first argument. Now two instance variable, that is two variables I am going to define, that is MLR value and self dot, for example age is 25 just now, and these variables are going to access through the M1 method, and this is also instance method, right? So that's why we have to pass the self variable as the first parameter. Now print self dot name, right? Self dot name, print function, then self dot age, Now we have to create the object. Now by using that object, I am going to call the M1 method. Now we'll see run this program. Yes, indentation errors are there, right? So just a minute. What is it? Yeah. I save this program. So where that indentation error? So yes, here. right. Now it is removed. Okay, now once again run this program, right, MLRIT and then 25. So in this way we can access the what properties, or we can say variables and methods. So through object we are going to access, and this is the T is the instance of this test class. That means T is the instance, or T is the object of the test class. T is the object of the test class. Okay, no? Right. So next, finally, here the Python is an object oriented programming language that emphasizes objects. That means everything in Python is an object. That may be a variable, that may be a module, that may be a function. Everything we have to consider is an object. See, that is the second statement. In Python, each type of object, variable is an object, function is an one object, list is an one object, tuple is an object, dictionary is an object, set is an object, like that one we have, etc. That is handled as an object, and each object belongs to a particular class. That means every object or each item belongs to a item. Here is nothing but an object. Okay, next, a class can have multiple objects, right? See, for example, here we can create one more object. For example, this is the T1 object and T1, right? Now we can create one more object, T2 equals to test and T2 dot M1 method. By using that object, we can call that M1 method, right? See, there is no problem. We can create any number of objects. For example, if you create T3 equals to test, and once again we can call that T3 that is M1 method by using the T3 object. See, once again if you run this one, we will get what, 3 times of that value, MLRID 25, MLRID 25, MLR 25. So like that one, we can create any number of objects in Python, right? Next, that init method is called, yes, so we are calling only M1 method only, but we did not call this one. Yes, no need to call this explicitly. When it will be execute means whenever an object is created, this will be automatically executed. Okay, this is the constructor. Anyway, we'll discuss about that constructor. So once again I will tell you, whenever an object is created or at the time of object creation, okay, na, this constructor or the constructor will be executed automatically. That means $_init will execute it automatically at the time of object creation. So this is about what is the class and what is the object, how can we define object, and by using that object, how can we access that variables, methods, so on this thing, right? So in next class we'll discuss some other, what is the self variable, and how can that objects are, what is the init method, right? Thank you.